How are you, Coach?
I'm doing well, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Of course, absolutely. So what were the butterflies like when the envelopes were opening up at that point for you?
I mean, they were real. It's different when you're sitting up there on a stage versus sitting on your couch at home. It's different in real time for sure, but it's a great result for the organization.
Well, and in terms of the word celebrating, I was wondering what words I should pick and choose, because obviously it's good fortune for you to have every single prospect at your fingertips to choose from after another disappointing season. But you did have a disappointing season. What has this process been like for you, Coach?
It's been difficult. It's sort of it's had its bittersweet moments. I came from the San Antonio Spurs, where for 12 seasons with Pop we experienced championships, and every one of those were 50-win seasons. And so you came into this environment aware that the rules had changed. We were about to have the abundance of 20-year-olds for 2 of my 3 years. We had the youngest team in the history of the sport, and your purpose was different. You had to develop young talent. You had to build the foundations of a culture. We lost a lot of games dealing with that in such a tough sports city like Philadelphia. The pain of losing is real. And so watching young kids grow and watching them achieve things that they might not have was rewarding. But like I say, the pain of losing was real.
And I'm sure you've heard, Coach, that people believe, and to their core, that the losing was purposeful. You've heard the word tanking, I'm sure, of what the Sixers were doing, purposefully losing games so they could have the opportunity to have the first ping pong ball taken. What is that like to hear that chatter?
Well, I understand it. I understand it. When you look at the design of our roster, and we were very transparent. It was interesting for me going through it because I'm in front of the media. I think my media relations friend told me 450 times last year. And I'm constantly having to, present the club, represent the club, talk about the club, losing, development, whatever. So I get your question. I think that when you looked at the design of the team, and I just said it, we had the youngest team in the history of the sport. Only this year are we really going to pursue free agents. And so our purpose was documented. We were very transparent about it. We were trying to find what we call keepers. We were trying to identify, young players that others might have missed on and really just give them court time and take our hits along the way, and we knew that. Behind the win-loss record, we're trying to, grow a culture and let these guys understand about sports science and bodies and how you practice and all that stuff. And so I'm proud of what we did there, but the comment or the opinion about losing, I understand. What we did on a court never reflected that, but the design of the team, I do understand that.
That media relations friend is named Greg Popovich, right? That media relations friend? No?
He is a friend on many levels.
I know that.
He wears many hats. At times you are right, Rich. He was my media manager.
I mean, what if you took that approach with the Philly media? Brett, what do you think, Coach? What do you think?
I think that I would have been back in Australia fishing or back in Maine where I was raised. I feel like the city would have shown me a quick way out very quickly.
I'm sure. Brett Brown, the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, is joining us right now here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, in terms of getting the kids and the prospects that you're talking about, now, it's all about the Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram choice. Would you agree that it's just those two guys, or what?
I think the mock drafts are close. When you look at it, those two really haven't moved the whole year. I came back from Chicago 3 or 4 days ago where I had the chance to be in front of, Chris Dunn and Jamal Murray and Buddy Hield. And you start talking to those guys and you just walk away incredibly impressed with their maturity, their confidence. I think that they're high-character guys. I personally like sitting in front of somebody, you get a gut feel about the person more than you can like watching a game or reading a stat sheet. And I left those personal interviews very impressed. I get why the mock draft says those two, are at the top. I understand that. We're going through a bunch of stuff to try to study that, but I think it is fair to say that those two at the moment, remain at the top.
And all we hear about now about Simmons, other than obviously his ability on the court, are some character issues. What would you say about that, Coach?
I don't agree with that. I coached in Australia a long time ago, and I actually coached his father. I coached his dad in Melbourne, Australia for 5 years, David Simmons, who was from Harlem, New York. And I've known his dad. I've known the family since Ben was born. And I know almost all of his junior coaches, people that have sort of mentored him along the path. And I think it is highly overblown. I don't agree with that.
So where do you think this stuff comes from?
I think the disappointing year he might have had at LSU in a vacuum. People make opinions, people form opinions when his team, wasn't able to get into the NCAA tournament. I think people quickly, form opinions. It's the world that we live in, and I suppose many ways it's fair enough. I think some of those comments would have come from that situation.
How much has Okafor grown up from the first time you met him?
He's grown up a lot. That experience that he had early in the year is not even close to who Jahlil really is. For people that have had the chance to sort of talk with Jahlil, and it'll take a little bit, like I said with my own interviews, a while. You sit down for 15, 20 minutes, you sort of get a gut feel on the person, would understand what I'm saying. He's at his core, he's a wonderful young man. And to experience sort of the embarrassment that he went through in the public's eye, which didn't reflect him at all, I think was a real eye-opener. And, 19 years old, you get hit like that, it bumps you around a little bit. And I feel like...
And Joel Embiid said that he believes he's playing this coming year. Do you believe that too?
Yeah, I think that is a fair statement. There's a lot still going on to make that official, but he's looking very good.
Okay. Before I let you go, where does the Maine accent stick out more, Australia or Philadelphia, Coach? Where does that stick out more?
I think probably more in Sydney, and probably more in Melbourne and Sydney.
You sure? Did people have trouble understanding you in Australia?
I come from a diluted background. Tim Duncan used to call it Australian.
Australian. I like that. That's great.
Yep.
Do you think?
And that's a true story, Rich.
Australian. Do you think we've seen it? Look, I know you've got your own things going on, but do you think we've seen the last of Tim Duncan as a professional basketball player? Coach?
I thought that for the past 3 or 4 years, and Timmy is a friend of mine. I spent 12 quality seasons with him. He just keeps amazing me. I mean, it's a reflection of how he takes care of his body. But I don't really know. And I bet if you ask Pop or RC, they wouldn't know either. Maybe Timmy doesn't even know. I do know that both, like Manu and Timmy, take the appropriate amount of time to figure it out. I'm sure the disappointment of the loss to Oklahoma City could tarnish a decision, and I think they're just going to let it play out. I don't know, Rich. He is in amazing shape for a man of 40.
Coach, I appreciate the time. Thanks very much. You want to ask your fellow Maine guy a question before we go? Brockman, you're from, where are you from in Maine?
I'm from Saco. I played at Thornton, Coach Brown. I actually went to a basketball camp my sophomore year that your dad put on at the University of New England. And he used to give me grief about my inability to execute a jump stop.
Okay, well, see, Dad was a big disciplinarian. That would have been was that at Swish Camp?
It was a Swish camp, correct.
Yeah, no, see, that's right. I am the son of an old school coach. I have a lot of nervous twitches from the discipline he would have put on me. I've been there before, man. I used to get yelled at for my poor jump stop, too.
Your dad was a good man.
Oh, that's neat. Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Rich, thanks for having me.
You bet. That's Brett Brown, the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.